Hi everyone, welcome to Career Launcher. My name is Abhilasha and we are starting this series for CUET and boards. So today's session we'll discuss vocabulary. I'm covering synonyms and antonyms. If at any point of time you have a doubt or a question, please feel free to leave a comment in the chat box. Let's get started. All right, so we're doing synonyms and antonyms. Of course, you understand synonyms are words which have the same meaning, antonyms are words which have opposite meanings. So let's do this. Okay, here are your first 15 questions. Meticulous. All right. If you don't understand at any point of time, pause the video, take a look for the meaning. I will discuss it. So then go on to the next one. So meticulous, of course, means someone who's very careful, who does things in a very conscious manner. They're very painstaking. Okay. You can also call such a person conscientious, right? Someone who's very particular with what they're doing. So I can also call it particular, right? So such a person is detailed. They do things in a very exhaustive manner. The antonym, of course, would be careless, hasty, lazy, uncaring, right? All of those would be the antonyms. Cacophony. The word cacophony comes from the root word caco, which means ugly or harsh, and phony, phone, from phone, which means sound. So cacophony means an ugly sound. So therefore, din, noise, okay, loud, harsh, jarring, all of those words work very well as synonyms for cacophony. The antonym for cacophony is euphony. EU, the root word, means good. Okay, and phone, of course, is sound. So euphony is good sound. You can also call it melodious. Okay, or you can also call it mellifluous. Okay, so melodious or mellifluous. So that's your answer. Din, which is a loud noise. Benevolent. The root word for benevolent are ben and vol. Ben means good. Okay, the parallel root for ben is also born. So ben and born both mean good, and vol, of course, means will. So benevolent means having good will towards someone. So when you're kind, charitable, generous, philanthropic, okay, altruist, okay, those are all synonyms for benevolent. The antonym for benevolent is malevolent. So the root word mal means bad, and vol, of course, is good. So malevolent is having ill will or bad will towards someone. Okay. So those are your two words, ben and mal. Mal, remember, ben means good, mal means bad, and vol, of course, is will. So you can combine these root words also to understand the meanings. Benevolent, anywhere you see the root word ben or bon, is going to be a positive word. So antonym has to be a negative word. All right, ameliorate. Ameliorate means to make something better, to improve it, so to assuage it. Okay, to soothe someone, to smooth things over, so to make them better. The antonym, of course, is to exacerbate things. Okay, exacerbate means to worsen. The root words are am or ami, which means love or friendship, and ACR, which means acid or harsh or sharp. Okay, so that's how you get these two words. So ameliorate, improve, make better. Gregarious. The root word for gregarious is greg, which means crowd or flock. So gregarious is somebody who's very friendly, who's very sociable, who's very amiable. Okay, somebody who loves going out and enjoying themselves a lot. That's gregarious. The antonym would be solitary, peaceful, quiet, reclusive, isolated, somebody who stays by themselves. All right, obfuscate comes from fusk. F-U-S-C, that's the root word, which means to clear. So obfuscate means to confuse. The root word ob means no, and fusk means clear. So obfuscate is to not be clear. Something should be very confusing, very vague, very unclear, very cryptic, mysterious. That's obfuscate. So that is the meaning. The antonym, of course, is to illuminate, clarify. Okay, so those would be the antonyms. All right, taciturn means somebody who speaks less, who's very quiet, who's very terse, who's very pithy, who's very succinct. Succinct is such a lovely word. So silent is the correct answer, as opposed to someone who's very talkative. Right? So if you're very talkative, you're loquacious, cheerful, expressive, you're garrulous. Garrulous is a very lovely word for taciturn as an antonym. All right, let's look at the next one. Venerate. Venerate means to respect someone. Okay. Idolize someone. To revere someone. Okay. That is venerate. Antonym, of course, is to hate someone, right? So despise, ignore, hate, those will be antonyms. Okay, sanguine. That's the next word. Sanguine comes from sang, that's the root, which means blood. So sanguine is when you have a lot of blood, so you're very healthy. Okay, so very positive word. Hopeful is a very good synonym for this. Okay. Antonym is pessimistic, harmful. Okay, arbitrary. The word arbitrary means something done at random, without any planning, without thinking about it. So something that happens just at the, snap of a finger. So capricious is a good one for this. Capricious means someone who's unable to, take a firm decision. So they're always in a dilemma. Okay, they're very mercurial. They keep changing, right? So that's your answer. Capricious, dilemma, mercurial, arbitrary, random. Impromptu can be another word for this, right? Impromptu means what? Something done without any planning. So impromptu also works. All right, pernicious is something that is very harmful, very poisonous. Okay, I'll write these words down. So poisonous, venomous. Okay, insidious is another word that you can use for pernicious. Insidious means something that goes inside and harms you from within. Okay, so that antonym would be anything which is positive, harmful, okay, good for your health. Mellifluous comes from melodious, which means sweet sounding. So Lata Mangeshkar's voice was mellifluous, magical, melodious, euphonious, as opposed to my voice, which can be very harsh, jarring, cacophonous. Okay. Recalcitrant is someone who's very stubborn. Okay. Very defiant, very unyielding. You can also call them obstinate. You can call them obdurate. Okay. Very stubborn. The antonym, of course, is amenable. Okay. Obedient also works as an antonym for this. Okay. All right. Okay. Egregious. Egregious means something that is very bad. It is vile. Okay. It is evil. It's very harmful. So it's outrageous. Okay. Egregious crimes. That's how you remember. All of those crimes that have happened over the last couple of years where people have murdered other people and put them into boxes or buried the body here and there and everywhere. Those are egregious crimes. Really bad. Okay. Perspicacious. Purse, the root word purse means to see. Perspicacious is to see something very clearly. So somebody who's very wise. Okay. Very insightful. Very sagacious. Is perspicacious, very intelligent, right? Okay, opposite to perspicacious would be very unwise, dull, blunt, foolish, silly, okay? All of those would work as antonyms. All right, let's do some antonyms now. So alacrity is speed. When you do something with alacrity, you do it with eagerness, speed. So antonym, of course, will be lethargy, dolor, right? So somebody is very slow at something is lethargic. So that's the antonym for alacrity. Do things with alacrity, do things with lethargy, slow. Venerate, of course, said respect. So antonym will be despise, hate, abhor, detest. Despise, I've already got for you. Scorn can be another word for antonym for venerate. Pragmatic is very practical, realistic. So antonym, of course, will be idealistic. Somebody who's just doing things, who's very, what should I say, who's a daydreamer. Okay, I'll give you a very lovely word for this. बहुत अच्छा word है. That is quixotic. Okay, this comes from a character called Don Quixote. Now, he was a person who would tilt at the windmills, who would tilt at the windmills means have really imaginary, daydreamish sort of ideas. There was somebody who would have very, very weird, very strange ideas about how he would do things. And those things would be just those things that you could never practically do. So such a word is called, such a person is called quixotic. Remember the X is silent. So it is not quixotic, it is quixotic. All right, so that's a daydreamer for you. Pragmatic, very practical. Lucid, the root word L-U-C or L-U-M both mean light or to see. Okay, so if something is lucid, you can see it very clearly. So antonym will be when you can't see. So therefore, obscure is a perfect antonym for this. Okay, fortuitous. Fortuitous means something that is through luck, through chance, through serendipity. Now, that's a very good word, guys. Serendipity. Through karma. Kismat, jise hum kehte hain. Right? Through kismat. So all of those are synonyms for fortuitous. So antonym will be deliberate, something that you do with planning. Okay. All right. Exacerbate, I've already told you, means worsen. So antonym will be to alleviate, to make better. Zeal is passion. Okay. So zealous and zealot. There are two words that you should know. One is zealous. Zealous is a positive word for this, and zealot is a negative word for this. Zealot means somebody who's very obsessed with an idea. Okay. So zealous, the antonym, of course, will be apathetic. Apathetic means I don't care. The root word means no, and pathos means feeling. Okay. So when you have no feeling for something, that is apathetic. So zealous is somebody who's very passionate about something. Apathetic is when they don't care. So that's your antonym. Meager is very small, scarce. So antonym, of course, is abundant. Copious is a very good antonym. Okay. Excess, surfeit, plethora. Okay, these mean a lot of something. Meager, of course, is very small amounts. Okay, belligerent, the root word bellu or belly mean war. Okay, so hostile, aggressive, and combative are all synonyms. The antonym, of course, is peaceful, pacifist. Okay, someone who's very quiet. Sagacious comes from the root word sage, which means wise. So antonym, of course, will be foolish. Okay. Opulent is wealthy, luxurious, rich. So therefore, antonym will be sparse. Something that is very rare of, very little of. Okay. Very limited quantities of. So. All right. Vindicate. So vindicate means to be cleared of an accusation. Okay. So defend, clear, justify. So antonym will be condemn. The antonym, so there's another word for condemn, which is indict. Okay. Or you can use inculpate also as a synonym for condemn. For vindicate, you use exculpate. Culp means blame. So the root word culp means blame or accusation. And in, of course, is to include. And ex means to remove. So exculpate is to remove. Include is to, inculpate is to condemn. Robust, of course, is very strong, sturdy, healthy. Therefore, antonym will be weak. Plausible is believable, credible. Okay. So, therefore, antonym will be unreasonable. And of course, the last word for today, prolific, means in large quantities, something that is very fertile. It is fecund, F-E-C-U-N-D, fecund. Antonym, of course, will be unproductive. Okay. All right. That brings me to the end of this session, guys. If this helped, of course, remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and also share this session with a friend, somebody who is with you, who is preparing, or somebody who's planning to write any competitive examinations. Remember, to enroll at Career Launcher, you need the number 8130-038-836 to connect. For any further sessions, do remember Thursday, same time, same place. I will see you there. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.